Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Loose Balls podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and I'm here with my co-host, Eli. Uh,
As always, as
as
always,
as always, crazy though. It's been some time since we've recorded, and also
it
first
has.
time that we are putting faces with the voices. Uh,
Yep.
case in case in point, we talked about my Dolphins. Got the Dan Marino jersey on. Gotta rep it. Gotta rep it.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. I
Yeah.
got a big old flag over here. I will be replacing here for our up and coming episodes. This
Put
will
it in.
be pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah.
Put it in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here. We had a bit of a hiatus, work and
hmm
all that other stuff, and I don't know. We just lost track of the time, and all of a sudden we're in playoffs. Next
I
week is
know. Here at the end
playoffs.
of the season. I know. What is this week? 18? No.
Yeah, yeah. We just passed the last
Yeah.
week. We're into the wild card round next weekend, which I would like to point out. One of my hot takes lives, and that was a Lions Texans Super Bowl this year. It could
An
happen.
owl. Oh,
Both are in
very
there.
good.
Now
Yep.
the Lions are on a number one seed and get the bye. Texans get the Chargers, which I don't know.
Yep.
Chargers have been kind of hot. Uh,
I know.
Not to take a dig here, but talking about the AFC West, how are we feeling about
hmm
having three of the four teams make it from your division and knowing that you're the
I know.
one?
I know it's tough. I mean, to be fair, this has always typically been the case historically for the Raiders.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talks of, typical of breakdowns, especially when it comes time to show out. Especially in this division, typically the team crumbles, right? Which is what we're kind of seeing right here, right now. This was a huge upset, especially coming from the beginning of the season. No one really thought the Broncos was even going to really be a name coming into this season. No one thought, oh, Broncos playoff spot. No one was kind of thinking, oh, I mean, there was a lot of question marks around the new coaching for the Chargers, but the fact that it was this successful, especially on both sides of each of these teams, everyone can kind of see the silver lining with Kansas City. They're going for the three-peat, they're going for the victory. But to kind of see this breakdown kind of come across, and especially in recent events, this last October, Brady officially being a minor stakeholder with the Raiders, especially his voice going to be this exponentially, at least voiced with Mark Davis, is extremely heartbreaking as a Raiders fan. It's hard to come to terms with, honestly, especially with having this be my identity as a football fan all these years. To have the old Brady man, coming full term, having some sort of say in what's going on in the background of our team, it doesn't sit right. Especially after putting so much stock in the coach that I saw in AP. Wish him all the best. Recently tuned in to the Rush podcast, seeing what kind of Max's breakdown is on all this. How a lot of people are going to be trying to get clips of him saying he doesn't want to be with the Raiders, how he doesn't want to do this, doesn't want to be part of the foundation. Naysayers, to say the least. But I mean, we'll see what can get done. I mean, it's a difficult situation. I don't know where they're going from this point. They're holding on to Tom Telesco for some reason, but getting rid of AP,
Which
even
is
though they're
wild
already
because he's
paying.
lived through like three or four coaches at this point. Like, how many
Yeah,
choices can you
exactly.
make?
This is exactly what he was talking about too. Is like, I've seen the coaches come and go. Especially how tenacious that this team is with coaches. The few things that they do need to be, at least as far as the future of coaching for the Raiders, is they need to be a player's coach first and foremost, and
Hmm.
know that that coach is going to have their backs, and knowing that no matter what, victory above all. That's kind of the message of the Raiders, and that's something that they want to take forward. Which
Right.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. But these kind of movements that I'm seeing right now, the proof is not in the pudding as of right now. So
Well,
we'll see what kind of happens.
I mean, it is like Pierce was playing this entire season with an arm behind his back because Tom Pelesco has not been a good GM. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I thought even though Max Crosby is like your best player and the only player you guys know by name. I thought for sure this was going to be the year that you guys traded him at the trade deadline because the Lions needed a player. Like it wasn't like they were without offers, and I'm sure they could have gotten a
Mhm.
bunch of picks for it, uh,
Mhm.
but it didn't happen. And now the team, what, 4 wins, 5 wins? Did you outbeat the Bears
4
record?
wins.
Because they went on an 11-game losing streak.
I think we did. Bears have their own whole situation going on over there.
Yes,
I
yeah,
don't
they
even
do.
have enough energy to kind of divulge into the stuff that they've been going into as well, you know? But yeah, needless to say, stuff has not really gone down well, especially with this GM position that you're talking about, this horror story of a wide receiver situation coming with Devontae Adams. Haven't quite touched on that since last recording. A nightmare to say the least. Someone that we thought was going to be retiring with the Raiders, a more secure position than what we thought Max Crosby, right? Like poops into thin air with the Jets of all teams,
Yeah,
putting him with Aaron Rodgers to decay another couple years for absolutely nothing, essentially. It's a nightmare story, I mean, didn't start well with the round one tight end pick, in my opinion, but Nate, I mean, as much as you will say the kid is balling out of his mind, he is by far his worth in a first round position, but it's not a position we necessarily needed.
yeah,
And so proof was in the pudding that this was going to be a rebuild, but at the end of the day, um, who knows what's going on in the background of the Raiders here. I'm thinking Mark Davis might have a little bit too much input of what's going on here with the
yeah.
Raiders and as far as the team advances. Um, as much as Raiders fans can take away from that and take away from the voice of Tom Brady, I'm going to be with for as far as the future of the Raiders goes.
Yeah. I think honestly that the one thing you guys could steal from the Jets that would work is that just drafting the best player available, whatever comes up. Hey, best in this spot, best in this spot. Now the Jets shot themselves in the foot by then immediately going and getting Aaron Rodgers after doing that for a couple years.
Mhm.
But eh, I mean, you guys are gonna be the bottom of your division for the next 3-4 years without fail, and that's not a
Yep.
dig at
Mhm.
the team. Like that's you
No,
guys
yeah.
have a good.
That's just that is where we find ourselves.
I mean, you're in a division with
At
the
at the
Chiefs.
time, I do. Yeah, at the
Yeah.
time, I do want to point out that Aaron Rodgers did make sense for the Jets at the time. They had Zach Wilson. He wasn't playing that bad at that time. You could see some spark and some shimmer and what he could be. Bo Nix-esque, I would even say, at the beginning of his career. But it, you know, it definitely fizzled out extremely quickly. There was no rookie to kind of train up. It turned into Aaron Rodgers' team, unfortunately, and he kind of stepped away from that mentorship role that they wanted him to do. And he outlived Salah at the end of the day,
Which
So
is wild.
that whole team is going through, yeah, that whole team is going through its paces as well. But yeah, definitely look at ourselves for another 3 to 4 year rebuild.
Yeah, I. All right, we're gonna switch it to the Jets for a second here because we're talking about them.
Mm.
Here's a hypothetical for you: would you rather have Aaron Rodgers or any of the rookie QBs that came out this year for your team if you're the Jets?
You're the Jets.
Like that's
I don't
Michael
think you know.
Penix, that's JJ McCarthy,
Yeah,
that's Jaden Daniels, that's Drake May, that's Bo Nix, that's.
yeah. I
I mean,
think
you
you
could.
forego. Yeah, I think you forego the QB and you tough it out with Aaron Rodgers here for a little bit. You kind of eat what you put yourself out in front of you,
Right, but
and you kind of just take it on the chin.
right, but what I'm saying here is that I think that the Jets should have just stuck to their model because it would have worked. Because in regards, Aaron Rodgers played 4 snaps last season, and we got one more year of Zach Wilson anyways. The team sucked.
Hmm.
You guys got
Yep.
a pretty early round pick that they traded back for, if I remember correctly now at this point. But I mean, if you're gonna suck with Zach Wilson anyways, why would you pay Aaron Rodgers in 2020? Like looking back, I would have said no, just keep him. Like I don't want him. I don't want to trade for him. We're gonna suck for one more year with Zach Wilson, but don't worry, we're gonna get Jaden Daniels, or don't worry, we're gonna get
Yep.
Drake May, or don't worry, we're gonna get
Hmm.
Caleb Williams. And I,
Hmm.
Aaron
I
Rodgers
know.
should have been cut.
Imagine a Jaden Daniels on the Jets.
It would be insane
Like their
because
depth
you
isn't
have
all that bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they.
where he finds himself right now, he is balling out of his mind, you know? By himself, is a top 10 QB this season. Sure, star-studded, giving him all the tools he needs, is doing everything he needs to do in the position, but he has that electricity that will get you a win in the fourth quarter, you know?
Oh yeah, lock in rookie of the year for sure. There's no one even close.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, if the Raiders do that, stick to their model, we're gonna be solid. Like you guys are gonna be solid in the next 4 or 5 years. You're gonna have a
Mhm.
Brock Bowers, Shadur Sanders combo. No,
Mhm.
I
Hopefully. I mean, who
hopefully,
knows? It might be a little too early for a QB, you know? I mean, honestly.
yeah.
Like, it seems as if we have a lot of development in front of us. I don't know if necessarily a QB is what's needed right now. It would be good to develop a QB, but do we really have the resources or the staff that has shown that they're ready to train up a QB and get them in a position that can
Well, you
do
don't
what they
know.
need to do?
You could get Josh McCown. He's bouncing around right now looking for a job. Head coaching gig.
Yep.
He's pretty good. He's a QB guru apparently.
That's what I hear. Brady, in a report this last Wednesday, was advocating for Belichick to come over to the Raiders. So
So fuck that. That's such an awful.
there's a lot of there's a lot of discomfort in the position right now. You know, I mean, it's too early to say. Like I said, they're already paying two other coaches that are not even on the staff right now. It's not even really even worth imagining at this time and point.
Yeah, Belichick would be a
And
wild choice.
this is a team that has developed really good coaches and let them go. You know, this is
Yeah.
historically what the Raiders has done. You know,
Hey, I bet
look,
you Gruden's still looking for a job.
I don't think Gruden's allowed back with the NFL after winning the lawsuit.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, but
it's got to feel
I
nicey
was gonna say,
somewhere
look,
else.
exactly. I mean, as far as I know, he's with Underdog Entertainment right now doing podcasts. Love that dude.
Yeah.
Wish him the best, you know. But look no further than, you know, our defense coach right now. You know, he's already looking at head coaching positions on other teams. You know, look at our special teams coordinator that has earned himself a head coaching position with the or is it the Jets?
Offensive
Where
coordinator,
did
which one?
no special teams
Oh, he went to Atlanta, didn't he? And then he got
did
fired.
he go to Atlanta? I don't think he went to Atlanta. Oh, it's another smaller team. I mean, it's some
Uh,
sort of team in New York, probably. You know,
hang on. Special teams coach.
it wasn't
Became.
Sala. It was like
Um, no, that's not it. Okay, former Raiders head coaches. Let's see. Should be recently, right? Yeah. Let's go down here.
yeah,
Rich Bisaccia.
Rich Pasaccia,
He did not
phenomenal
become a
coach.
head coach. He is the special teams coordinator with the Packers.
Oh, okay.
But I couldn't. I could
Well,
see him and
regardless,
I could
has
see his face. I just couldn't put the name with it.
yeah, regardless has been a team that has developed really good coaches as years go on. You know, has a pretty good depth of veteran coaches, but doesn't necessarily have a thumb on who might be ready for a head coaching position, especially on this team,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, and that goes for a lot of teams right now, you know? I mean, look no further than Patty Mayo for, or Gerard Mayo for the Patriots, you know?
Also
Someone
fired.
that came in with, yeah, came in with a lot of hope and a lot of expectations, you know? But came up a little bit short in the position, you know. And that one was pretty glaringly on the coach itself, you know.
Yeah.
Couldn't really find anything in the back that might be explaining is like, oh, team's failing, that kind of stuff. With AP, that's a whole nother situation, you know. At least in my eyes, is the coach that a lot of the players were kind of looking up to, and
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking to see him go, you know.
Yeah. Which puts us in a spot where there's what, 5, 6 coach op. We did this last year too. There was like 7, right?
There was, like, a lot more, yeah,
And we
a
did the
lot more.
math. It's like,
And a lot more QBs.
yeah,
Luckily,
wow,
the QB draft of this last year was fairly successful, like, a lot of these franchises can kinda build around these QBs that are up and coming.
yeah. Or you
But I
figure
think
out
that's just
that,
sheer luck, honestly.
yeah. Now you figure out that Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield are actually really good, but just were never used right. And all of a sudden you're 14-5 or 14-3 in the fifth seed.
I couldn't agree more. Another QB that kinda strikes this exact same chord as of right now, look no further than Bryce Young. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
This is this is a QB with a high percentage, high passer rating percentage right now, past week 8, you know? He is a top 10 QB past week 8 right now, and it shows. It shows. I mean, he's making Adam Thielen look like he's playing the best ball of his life right now, you know?
yeah. And I mean, shouts out
So,
to that coach for making it through this season. I thought for sure he was going to get fired. Held on.
very
Team looked
true.
good. He wasn't afraid to bring in the red rifle when you needed him. Like,
Yep.
can't forget.
Uh,
Speaking of other old quarterbacks, another year, another determination of me that Joe Flacco should just retire. I don't understand how he's still kicking around. He did fine with the Colts. He got them, I think, 1 or 2 wins. He did exactly what I
Yep,
expected. Took what the defense gave him, and then arm punted it away. Like
there you go.
it's the same guy. I was
Mhm.
having a conversation today, and I was asked, well, I mean, we might not keep Tua because he keeps getting hurt.
Yeah,
And they're like, well, who do
yep,
you get in the interim? And so he was like, Joe Flacco's around. I was like, it's a principle. I can't root for Joe
yeah.
Flacco. Like,
Same thing here with, the whole Tom Brady thing, dude. It's like it's a matter of principle at the end of the
right.
day. Mhm.
And so man, sorry, that was a bit off track. But yeah, there's a lot of like, Bryce Young is probably going to be a good quarterback in the league. I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't know
I
if we
agree.
ever get into elite, but probably in
No.
like
What I think we see is an avoidance of looking like Alex Smith more so. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean, you also
Like,
have. Now, do you think he continues to be good, or do you think this is kind of like what happened with Josh Dobbs, where he got hot really quick and then rode that into kind of a starting gig with the Vikings and went from there?
really hard to say. Really hard to say. I mean, I think a lot of QBs find themselves in that position exactly right now.
Yeah,
Look at Anthony Richardson. Look at Jaden Daniels. Look at Bo Nix. Look at Geno Smith.
yeah,
I'll just point that one out. Hot and cold, but I would say Geno's looking a little hotter than colder around these days. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But
I
a
but
lot of the QBs are kind of like in this kind of hot basket right now. I don't know how long that necessarily lasts. I think there's a lot more question marks around these QBs than there is around Joe Burrow anymore.
true. Yeah. Just you hit on Anthony Richardson. I'm sorry if you tap yourself out of the game because you're tired. I don't want you on my team. Eh,
Yep.
That's wild. Like, maybe just
Mhm.
give, I don't know, like maybe Joe Flacco should have finished that season. I like that's insane. I'm getting millions of dollars to play a
Yeah.
game and I can't coach. I'm tired.
Mhm.
What the hell are we doing 4 days out of the week? Like,
Mhm.
no, that one was
Yeah.
wild. Um, yeah. Speaking of quarterbacks, we talked a little bit about Tua. I don't think he makes it through the season. I think after this year,
Really?
I, we hold on to
You
him.
guys just paid him,
I know we
you
did.
know?
And he's hurting our salary cap for how often he's hurt. I think if we bring him back next year, if he gets hurt again, if he's healthy by the trade deadline, we're probably going to move him by the trade deadline because it's like
Mm,
we need to get that salary
yeah.
cap, and if we're already losing, we might as well tank. Like, eh,
Mhm.
I was it blows my mind that Skylar Thompson is still our backup quarterback before we got Tyler
Yeah.
Huntley. Like, we entered the season knowing that this guy was never going to be a long-term backup with a quarterback that
Mhm.
has prolonged injuries multiple times.
Yeah.
And we instead insist. I think he faked his injury. Like, he knew he was going to be bad, so he's like, it's done. I can't.
Not a bad
And
idea.
so we got
Not a bad
Tyler
idea.
Huntley, and Tyler
Especially
Huntley
in that
just needs a
position.
job. And so
Yeah.
it, I don't know. It felt forced. It felt just not like we could have prevented this situation, and then now Tyreek Hill wants out, and it's like cool.
Yeah,
I mean, why did we
that's
pay both of these
that's a
guys?
yeah, a tough situation to be in right now, you know? I
Did you
mean,
did you see his IG post?
I did
He
not.
superseded. He photoshopped his head onto Antonio Brown's body of him doing the peace sign when
Oh
he
my
runs off the
gosh.
field. Yeah, it's great.
I
Uh,
mean, someone's gotta get a thumb on these receivers, you know what I'm saying?
I honestly let him go. I think he should go.
Let
I've heard
I
rumors that he's
agree.
looking at Washington. Like, great, go to Washington.
Okay.
I
That's a
I
good
think
move for him,
it
honestly.
right, but he's just chasing the ring again, which is fine. Like he's just basically
Yep.
at this point become OBJ. Like whatever,
Mhm.
who's gonna pay me? I want to win.
Also, curtail, crazy that we're saying that someone's going to the Washington Commanders to chase a ring. I just wanna curtail that real
Right.
quickly, you know?
Well, I mean, the 2016 super team came together and decided they were going to go one more hurrah. Like, if you also told me Zach Ertz was going to be tight end
Yeah,
10 this season, I would say, like, you're out of your
dude.
mind. This
I
man's
was
awful.
telling you, dude. I was telling you at the beginning of the season. I would love to go over our predictions
Yeah,
at the end of this season here. You know, Washington Commanders is up there for me, dude. You know,
that's
I
true.
saw the trim and the cut of the team, dude. It was coming together. You know,
I've
I
got
mean,
the little
sure,
black
their
book
weakest
somewhere.
links, honestly. Yeah, honestly, was looking like Austin Eckler, you know, but
Yeah.
having the weakest guy be Austin Eckler, I mean, like, not a bad little team you got there, you
Yeah.
know?
And Bobby Wagner leading the defense made it so much better. And
Yep,
Jaden Daniels is just a guy. Like, he is
he's
that
yeah,
guy. And
exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
he came in with justifiable fears because he was it him or Penix who had the back to back knee surgeries?
It was
It
Penix.
was Penix. So, but he'd also been hurt because he runs headlong into for those extra yards. So I could
Yes.
understand the
Mhm.
concern. But what everybody else forgot to mention is that he's going to have one of the best passer ratings as a rookie. He's going to take the Commanders,
Yep,
who went. I think they barely were under even with Sam Howell and are now leading their division. No, but they're making
yep,
the playoffs. And so
yeah,
it's just wild to me that this is the case. Um,
yep. A
so
team that we were braggadociously making fun of with Riverboat Ron at the helm, you know?
we
I
were.
mean,
Well, I
what
mean,
a 180.
I think a bunch of teams that we thought were going to stink this year really turned it around. I'd like to put some.
Mhm.
I'd like to point out that I think I was wrong about the Cardinals. I thought that they weren't going to do much. Trey McBride was going to be good, but all of a sudden, again,
Yeah,
they're competing for the
mhm,
division where there's a win out. There's a scenario where they make the playoffs.
yep.
Seattle continues to chug
I
along
mean,
without Pete Carroll.
yes, yep, and
Uh,
firing their OC.
yeah, that's true. Um, and the Jets, I mean, somehow they're okay. Well, no, they're mid. Sorry, the Bucks are who I'm thinking of. The Bucks
Bucks,
again.
yeah, Bucks are being
Bucks were supposed to be
impressive, yeah.
awful when they signed Baker Mayfield, and they made the playoffs back to back years.
Yep.
Um,
I wish him the best. I wish him
right,
the best.
right. And they're gonna do. I would be hard pressed to see how they're gonna do bad because
Mhm.
maybe we can use this to kind of lead into unexpected rookie or unexpected fantasy booms this year. Bucky Irving and Rashad
Mhm.
White coming together as a tandem in the backfield to absolutely just annihilate offenses.
Mhm.
I ran most of the year with Bucky Irving on one team, and then I had Rashad White and Bucky Irving on another. And for like, they just were in my team. It's like, all right,
Nice.
we're gonna pass the ball. Oh, that's Rashad White. Oh, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin got hurt. Darn, guess who's getting the ball now? All the running backs. Like, I think that was one that just like he came in, he had good expectations, and all of a sudden he's just popping off. So that tandem in the backfield was a pleasant surprise to have.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yep. I know, kind of curtailing with fantasy here. Do we want to talk about some of the players that either impressed us the most or fed us the most as the number one and number three in our fantasy league this
Yeah,
year?
yeah. I mean, this was the season to just play the waiver wire because there were so many players with that nobody knew that was going to pop off,
Mhm.
and some that people knew and were waiting for, and all of a sudden had that breakout. Uh,
Mhm.
I'd like to point out Jamison Williams over on the Lions. Still managed to get
Oh, wow.
suspended. Still managed to get suspended
Yeah.
this season for 2 games. Got it overturned just in time for the second game to pass. It was great. It was
Mhm.
great whenever he was on the field. Uh, just Lions as a whole. If you had anybody on the Lions, you were pretty happy with this season. David Montgomery was a
Mhm.
stud. Sam Laporta was, I think, tight end 8 or 9 in our league. Uh,
Mhm.
Jameer Gibbs, stud. Amon-Ra St.
Mhm.
Brown didn't perform up to what he did last year, but still was a good player. And
Yeah.
and then you top it off with Jameson Williams coming in as the second receiver, and it's like, all right, anybody can score on this team, and they're hanging 40 burgers like it's nobody's business.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was, like you said, playing that waiver wire. A lot of players were able to successfully do this. Um, like for example, just throwing it back to my keepers here. Traded away one of my keepers regrettably. Actually, not regrettably. Shouts outs to you here. I got rid of Tyreek Hill. Wasn't really serving me too well.
Yeah.
Um, a little bit too much drama. I don't really like dealing with all that on my team, so I got rid of him. Got Debo. Debo did absolutely nothing, so I picked up Juwan Jennings off that waiver wire. Balled out for me for the rest of the season.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And my other keeper, Saquon Barkley. Potential MVP of this season, by the way. I don't
Mm-hmm.
see how he doesn't quite get it at this point. Um, the dude single-handedly got me third this season with a terrible lineup since the beginning of the season. So more than pleased with how everything kind of spanned out. Um, as far as um, other players that may have surprised me, one player that kind of surprised me, I put a lot of stock into, was uh, our guy here. Oh, it dropped him. Um, Tight end for Atlanta.
Oh, Kyle
Kyle
Pitts.
Pitts. Yeah. Started off the season decent. Whenever he got the ball thrown to him, was extremely productive on the field. Super happy with how he performed as opposed to previous seasons.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of comparing about like kind of how where he finds himself in his career. I want to say this is season 3 or 4 of him in the NFL. Um, and has been steadily going downhill, but this year was able to bring it back. Picked up Hawkinson like round 20 on IR, kept him till the end of the season. Dude did phenomenally for me here at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the season. Very happy with that pickup. And I would say that that is single-handedly the thing that got me through this season. And the Vikings defense, how can we forget? One of the most dominant defenses of this season. I believe their defensive coach deserves some sort of head coaching position on another team, quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly. Balled out of his mind.
I mean, if we're talking about defenses, the defensive prize of the year was any defense that played the Giants. Like, it was free points. Giants or
Yeah,
Panthers. I
that's
just every week I'd look through. I'd be like, "Yep, all right, we're taking."
mhm,
Oh, New England's playing the Giants. Yeah, whatever. They're still gonna
mhm.
stop them. They're gonna get a
Yep.
bunch of fumbles. It was free
Mhm.
points. I think I got Atlanta's defense. That's how I made it to the playoffs because they got 27 2 weeks ago
Wow.
against it's
Oh
27 points.
yeah.
They played the had to have been the Giants, and they got several forced fumbles, a couple interceptions, and they got 14 points on their own. It was insane. They just
Yep.
stopped them.
Mhm.
But other players that kind of surprised me that balled out for fantasy. I mean, again, going back to the Washington Commanders, you got Jane Daniels, balled
Mhm.
out of his mind in fantasy. Zach Ertz becoming a top tight end. And I mean,
Mhm.
Eckler bounced. Eckler was in our league for most of the time, and he bounced around in my other league.
Mhm.
He did okay, but I think also
You did
Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson is still behind him and probably got a decent amount of carries. Um,
Yeah.
it was the season of running back handcuffs. Like
Yeah.
everybody was getting held
Mhm.
back. The backups were starting to do better, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden it's like, man, what are we doing? So,
Um,
but yeah, Jaden Daniels,
I mean,
Washington offense.
yeah, dude. Talk about productive running backs. Let's talk about this running back led Packers offense.
Yeah,
Josh Jacobs really taking the reins on the team, taking the extra mile. Give me some thoughts on that.
I mean, the running back room's already scary because Josh Jacobs is good. They're doing this with, I think it's a rookie or a first year running back behind him, but I know their rookie that they drafted high that they thought was going to do good, Marshawn Lloyd, was on
Mm,
IR for most of the season. So it's only going to get better from here. Someone dispel Jacobs when
yep.
he gets tired. I mean, they're
Which is what the perfect scenario for him, truthfully.
and he's
You can't really run him into the ground. He's going to kind of drop off in that fourth quarter. But if you have someone backing him up that's competent enough to pick up 4 yards, you're going to ball out of control.
right, and it's crazy because well, this is the first time we're really getting to see Jacobs in an offense that did or against defenses that can't pack the box because he has a
Mm,
QB that can throw. He has wide receivers downfield that are going to catch the ball, and all of a sudden now we're looking at a
mhm,
team that's like looking at it. Jacobs is like, oh man, I mean, no one was really sleeping on him, but this guy's
mhm.
good. Like, uh,
Yeah,
did
like
you see?
showing leading running back yards type good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Went back to a couple seasons ago good, which is pretty surprising coming out of him.
yeah. Did you see his interview? I forget which team they were playing, but basically they were winning by a lot, and they said if they go up one more score, coach is pulling the starters, and he's like, "So I call for the ball every play. I had to pack those stats." And he was like, "It's like, yeah, you go get those
That's too
stats.
good.
You help me out in fantasy."
Exactly.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
on the other one though, surprises here. Uh, not in a good way. How are we feeling about Dallas's backfield?
Ooh.
I mean, you can't forget
Ah.
for the second time in like 4 years, Zeke has been cut by the Cowboys. They're gonna owe him dead cap money. It just gets
Yep.
better and better. Like they're gonna pay Zeke
Per
for
usual. I
yeah
mean, who could not see this before it was even written or before the contract was even signed, you know? It's an embarrassment as far as backstaff on Dallas's side, you
mm,
know? I mean, they need a massive overhaul with ownership, coaching, the whole nine. I don't know if the players need let off the team, but as long as checks are getting signed, I mean, just keep on letting the ball roll forward, I suppose, you know? You have star players doing star things. I mean, no one's necessarily ring chasing over here like our guy Tyreek, but it's extremely disappointing to see how it's ending up, you know?
yeah. I mean, you have to let Dak go. He's just not worth it at this point. He didn't get a chance to
Yeah.
prove himself this season. You're gonna have to pay him at least 60 plus a year.
Mm,
You just let him go, right? Like you can't.
yep.
You just ride it out with Cooper Rush. Um, speaking of Cooper Rush, did you see the last game he needed to play? Oh, it was some high number of snaps, but they could have technically run it in the game, and they
Mm,
benched him to let Trey Lance get the start
I
so they could decide about this. So he got 250,000
Oh,
instead of 500,000 as a signing bonus, or as a
wow.
bonus for playing snaps. And it's like, come on, man, richest man in the
That's messed
NFL.
up.
This team's handing
Yeah,
out checks for no for like holding on and overpaying people. You're telling me 250 grand is gonna kill you on this?
that's crazy. That's
Uh,
crazy. I had no clue.
yeah. But I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, I was just gonna end off with this that we talked about the backfield and how bad the team is. Enjoy this season because even though as bad as
Mhm.
it was, it's probably gonna be the best season you're gonna have in the next 5 years. Like, what are you gonna?
Yeah.
What's? I think the only way that guarantees you make this worse is you retain Mike McCarthy. That would be the worst thing that you all could do.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
like I mean, come on.
Mhm.
You're gonna
Yeah.
have two really overpaid players, not overplayed, top paid players on offense and defense. If you
Mhm.
keep Dak, you shot yourself in the foot because you're out 60 million a year. That's gonna really hurt your cap. So being
Yep.
realistic here, looking at the QBs that are coming in and where you're drafting at, it's
Mm,
gonna suck. Like
yeah.
you're gonna get an AOC. It's
Mm,
gonna be. It's not gonna
it's
be a
not gonna be
fun
fun.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, not gonna
So,
be fun.
uh,
Speaking of not so fun times, uh, Shanahan's position with the 49ers. Am I right or am I right? Is this guy gonna have a job after this season?
for fantasy owners everywhere, we all sure hope so because he takes any running back he touches and turns them into gold mines. Uh,
That is true.
that
That
being
is true.
said,
I mean,
if he can,
Is that like offense, or is that like the running back coaches they have there, the development they have, or is it the talented GM that they might find themselves getting good players?
uh, they, well, the GM and not Harbaugh. Oh my God, I just saw his name and I spaced on it. Shanahan came in together.
Shanahan.
So
Yeah.
they came in at the same time. So it is a really good job by the GM, but it's not necessarily because of just the GM. I think he's a good coach.
Okay.
I think he just chokes in the playoffs. Has always choked in the playoffs, all the way back to the 28-3.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yep.
So he might not be the answer for the Niners, but if he is fired or if he like decides to leave, that would be one of the best seats for any coach in the league to get. That team's too stacked. Um,
Big time.
but we'll
I
see if
mean, they also have to worry about head cap too as well. I mean, I know they don't have any money left whatsoever, you know.
what.
So
No, they're going to be able to pay
yeah, that's
everybody. What do
that's
you
what happens when
mean?
you draft a kicker in round 3 in the draft. I mean, that's just as simply as that goes. You know what I'm saying?
I
And the
mean,
kicker's not performing well for the team.
he did great. What are you talking about? He didn't almost get choked out. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like he what?
Oh my gosh.
No,
Niners fans everywhere want that man's head. That's all I know. That is all I know.
third round pick's a waste. Pat McAfee's gonna hate it if it is ever gets to him. But kickers are a dime a dozen in the
Yep.
league. Come on.
Yeah.
I've watched Cairo
Yeah.
Santos kicking field goals on TikTok all the time, where he's like, "I'm gonna go out and hit all the ones
Oh
that
yeah.
people missed." Like, come on, he's not in the league. He hasn't been in the league for years.
Yep.
Sucked in the league. Like,
Yep.
what are we doing? Third round. I mean,
Insane.
I could see like a late 6th or 7th. Like, okay, this guy, we really want to give him the shot. Like if you get a Marquette King for punters or something like that. But oh man, a third on a kicker feels like a lot nowadays.
Yeah, big time.
But yeah, I don't know. I think he's in an okay spot. A coach that's still around that I thought for sure was going to get fired and might still get fired. We have a whole off season. Brian Daboll. I think the only fantasy
Oh.
surprise out of that one was was Malik Neighbors. Tyrone Tracy kind of.
Mhm.
The disappointing ones being Devin Singletary and everybody else. Um,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
everybody, I
I'm
thought for
also
sure.
shocked that Ryan Paul,
Yeah,
yeah, still
and
has a
Joe
job as
Shane.
well. That is mhm.
Joe Shane shouldn't have a job anymore for how he treated Saquon Barkley. I
True.
am not even an Eagles fan, and I watched
Mhm.
that. Like, I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm not a Giants fan. I watched that and I was like, that was awful. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What are we? It's $5 million a year, so we can pay a
Mhm.
tackle. Like, you couldn't come up.
Crazy.
You couldn't come up like from 10 million to 15. You thought Devin Singletary was going to be the end. Devin Singletary's not even starting. What are we talking
Yeah.
about? Like,
Insane.
and then
Yep.
Saquon goes off and is now in talks for being the MVP. Like, you should like if
Yep.
he'd went off and just
Should
was
have paid the man.
Yeah,
Should have paid the man.
if he went off and he was mediocre, okay, sure,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I guess you could make that argument
Mhm.
that maybe maybe that was a good
Yeah.
move, but he's almost the
No,
MVP.
but you get the man.
Fire him.
Yeah, you get the man running down every defense in the league, and the guy that's making the QB actually look half defense decent after being out of the NFL for 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? It's insane.
Yeah, uh,
Mhm.
they're just not like fire him. I
Yep.
mean, moving around to like other fantasy spots. Uh, I think. Well, we talked about Kyle Pitts a little bit, but I just coming back to that. With their coach being fired, do you think he gets better or worse with a new coach? Depending on, well, I guess depends on who it is.
I believe he would have to get better. I mean, just simply looking down the stat sheet, if you're not utilizing the tools that are working for you on the offense, that's a failure on the coach's part, period.
Yeah,
You know? Um, so I see nothing but space to go upwards, you know? That's just me.
yeah. I mean, I could see that. I just think, I mean, this was a year for tight ends. I thought tight ends were kind of sucked,
Mhm.
but everybody really improved.
Yeah.
I think
Hmm.
I think everybody who watches football all owe Arthur Smith a collective apology because we all thought he was crazy for using Jonnu Smith before over Kyle Pitts, but
Hmm.
Jonnu Smith's out there balling out for the Dolphins as a
True.
which is a wild thing. Um,
Hmm.
Another kind of fantasy surprise, just kind of tight ends as a whole.
Big time.
Isaiah
Tight
Likely.
ends as a whole is correct. I mean, the tight end position for the last like 4 or 5 years has been, oh, there's Travis Kelsey, Mark Andrews, and everybody else. So the fact that these guys are getting a nod and a conversation is huge.
Yeah,
Averaging 10 to maybe even 11 points even. You know,
yeah,
it's huge for the tight end position.
yeah. Um, all right. You want to talk about playoffs?
Let's talk about playoffs.
Uh, how we feeling about all the teams in there right now? Do we? Is it the Lions Super Bowl?
As of right now, yeah, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think I remember my prediction being Texans Steelers at the beginning of the season, and this all being said, I rank Lions as like number one overall. Um, so this is a very pleasing surprise for me.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a team that I believed in for the last few years. Huge Dan Campbell fan. Love what he's done with the players. Love what he's done with the culture of the Lions. Um, I hope them the best. I hope they get it. I mean, sure, they're running into some injuries, some here and there, but the attitude of the team is that we are going to take this forward.
yeah.
And I'm totally behind it.
I mean, HCDC just is going to will that team on his own to that ring.
Hmm.
He's just going to carry him
Exactly.
up by
I
himself.
mean, this is also a seasoned team that I think we're looking back on now after making it so far last year, seeing the mistakes that they made and adjusting well.
Hmm.
Not an extremely professional level like we see with Kansas City, but a team that has learned their lessons, and I think the lessons that they needed to learn.
Yeah. Uh,
Mm.
yeah. I don't know. I don't see anybody in their way that's going to stop them. I mean, Eagles maybe, but no, I just it's
It would have
the
to be
this is
a
the team.
slugfest.
This is the Lions season to lose the NFC and definitely to have a shot at
Mhm.
the Super Bowl, which kind of sucks because
Yep.
for sure they're going to be playing the Chiefs from the AFC. There's
Yeah.
there's not anybody in here that really poses a threat. Um,
Yeah. I
Bills,
mean, yeah. Vikings, right?
no,
Or are
that's the
they going to be the
NFC.
Lions?
So
Okay,
the
yeah.
Chiefs would get the teams that stand in their way are Bills, Ravens, Texans, Chargers, Steelers, Broncos. Um,
Yeah.
it's not
Steelers, maybe. Tomlin's last hurrah,
which
maybe.
wild to me that Tomlin has yet again taken just whatever is given to him and gone,
Of
we're
course.
a winning record. Just hold on to it.
I mean, last season was scarier for him. This season, he got back in his stride. Let's
Yeah,
be frank here.
yeah. It was just like,
He-
oh, I'm sorry, you
uh,
guys thought it was
let's see what
me.
he
No,
does.
it was Kenny Pickett. Like let's go back to this
Exactly.
here. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, I mean, Steelers making the Super Bowl would be wild. I think it's going to be the Chiefs. He's beaten Josh Allen. In fact, the Bills are the reason that they have uh, Xavier Worthy. So I guess thanks
Hmm.
for that. Lamar Jackson
Do
is
you
yet to.
think? I was gonna say, how do you feel about Josh Allen potential MVP?
I think he's going to get it, but I honestly think it probably should be Lamar Jackson for the second time. He highest
He already
passer
has to.
rating. Well, second time in a row. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Hmm.
because he threw a 40 touchdown season with only 4 interceptions. That's insane.
That's
He's one of the
crazy.
leading
That's crazy.
passers, beat all these top teams, has a 12-5
Hmm.
record. Come on. Like,
Yep. That's insane.
but Josh Allen is also doing ridiculous things. I think everybody voted for him to be the MVP when he threw the pass to himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
He won that one
I
for sure.
mean, this dude literally has no one in his depth and is obviously a meme of events literally throwing it to himself, you know?
Yeah.
It is absolutely insane what, this team has been able to make or what he has been able to make this team do, you know?
Yeah. And so I agree. Uh, I would argue that also Jaden Daniels should be considered for that conversation, but he's a rookie, so it'll never happen.
Yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. And I know Saquon's never going to get it because I think CMC was the closest. Or did he actually get it? I don't remember.
Last season,
It wasn't him last season, it was Lamar.
it was Lamar.
It would have been his time with, like, the Panthers, I think.
Yeah, I don't think no, he
No,
hasn't
I
gotten
think
it
he was
yet.
considered for it, yeah. It- yeah, I mean, it's not going to be Jaden Daniels. It's probably going to be Josh Allen. But either way, I'm not going to be upset.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I
Mhm.
think the Texans are here just for show because their
Yep.
division's the weakest division in existence.
Yep.
Uh, now, Chargers here could be the sleeper late round that's going to sneak in.
Mhm. Yep.
So they're fifth. That means they probably
Yep.
get the Ravens. No, no, 4 and 5
Oh,
play each other, so they get the Texans. I think. Yeah,
very interesting.
Texans are going to lose that one,
Yeah, Texans are probably gonna lose that one. Defense is too scary.
and their O line
Uh,
is letting everything through.
yeah. Yep.
So, so what we're thinking here is that actually we're going to get an upset of the bracket because Steelers and Chargers could make a deep push. Because
Mhm.
Chargers or Steelers are six, and
Yep.
Broncos are there for show. But to be fair, no one thought the Broncos would make it this far, so this is more
Yep.
than expectations. Uh,
Exactly.
I'll be honest, Sean Payton surprised me here. I thought this was going to be another year where it's mid. And
Mhm.
you know what? When
Sean
Bo
Payton has
Nick,
proved himself on that Broncos team.
you know, when we all saw Bo Nix in his freshman year go up against Josh Allen or up against Joe Burrow in the college,
Mhm.
we should have known that this super senior was going to be a guy.
Yep. Should have known. Should have known. As very surprising,
Yeah.
to say the least. I mean, how many teammates has that guy thrown the ball to? I think it's like
Oh, it's
over
insane.
60 or something like
Yeah.
that.
He is
Yeah.
doing he's doing what he is told and he is taking what that defense
Mhm.
gives him. Like, I don't care. 2
Yes.
yards, 5 yards, 60 yards. We're just whatever. Like, played it
Yep.
clean, got it done, let the defense do its job. So,
Mhm.
but that being said, now we're going up in the big time, and the pressure's going to get to him a little bit. Sean Payton's got it; he's been there
Big
before, done this. But rookie QB, a
time.
lot of younger receivers that don't quite know. I don't see it.
Mhm.
I think we're done here. That being said, the
Yeah,
youngest
probably.
team in the league at the Packers, they're going to make a deep push on the other side in the NFC here. Um,
You think so?
I think so. I mean, I don't think we necessarily get a bracket upset but so it's Eagles Packers, and
Mhm.
depending on where they play, I think the Packers can win that. If they're playing, no, they'd be playing in Philadelphia. That's going to be tough.
Wow.
I don't
Yeah, that's
know.
gonna be real tough for
They're
the
going to
Packers to
rely
win that one.
really heavy on Josh Jacobs, and we'll have to see if that's
Yeah.
enough. Bucks get the
Mhm.
Commanders. I
Okay.
don't know. That's a lot of veteran experience on the Commanders coming in. But at the same
Yeah.
time, Baker Mayfield is scary in the playoffs. Like he's like the
I think I think Bucks have never seen a QB run this fast in the playoffs, and I think it's gonna be a speed blitz, honestly, from the Commanders.
I mean,
That's just
I
my
could
honest
see it.
prediction.
I could be talked out. I
Like
could be talked into it just because.
like defense has not dealt with a threat in the playoffs that is able to one be as accurate as they need to be in a moment's notice, respect that accuracy, and be able to see the speed in the coming up front. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be extremely scary. Baker Mayfield has given them a good amount of practice with this in practice, and hopefully they have the experience to kind of combat it.
Hmm.
But I think Commanders might have the edge as far as knowledge in this here late season.
Yeah. Okay, I could be convinced. So we're saying it's back to back flips. Like we're getting the seven, 6, 7 seed going in. 4, 5. You could literally flip a coin and it goes either way. It's the Rams at the Vikings,
Ooh,
and
okay.
it's gonna be tough because while on paper the Vikings are better, Matthew Stafford
Mhm.
can have either the worst game of his life or be the
Yeah.
best player in the planet. Like it's
Mhm. Yeah.
like
I don't think I don't honestly, as good as the Vikings defense is, I don't think they're ready for what Matthew Stafford is going to deal out here in this postseason.
yeah, and
You
then
know,
he's going up against Sam Darnold, who's had stretches of brilliance, but all of a
yeah,
sudden just isn't it.
chokes for a couple weeks. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you can't have a hot and cold going into postseason this
no.
season. I mean, there's just a little bit too much talent floating around the league.
All right, so we've picked our flips. Then we get
Mm.
into the now the Lions and Chiefs are in the mix. So it would
Mm-hmm.
be probably one of the lower seeds whoever won. So it's like, do we think the Packers beat the Lions? Do we think the Commanders beat the Lions?
No.
No. The Vikings don't beat the Lions because they
Mm-hmm.
already just lost to them, and I don't think the Rams
Yep.
beat the Lions. So even if we look at this whole bracket, I think the Lions went out here.
Yeah, it's
Now,
winning out. It's
in
just Kansas City Lions.
yeah, it's got to be Kansas City Lions, unless I mean it's one of those any given Sundays where everybody just shits the bed. Uh,
Mm,
I just don't know. I just don't see it. Um,
I don't think I feel comfortable predicting it. You know.
yeah, no, we're just gonna stick with the tried and true. The prediction is Chiefs
Yeah.
Lions. However you want to
Yeah.
parlay that as you will. Uh,
Yep.
I just might. So all right. So we've got our playoff picture. You want to give
Mhm.
me a hot take for the playoffs? We're at like 53
Yeah.
minutes.
Um. Let's see here. Hot take. Yeah, I guess my hot take is that we see Commanders make a late playoff push. You know.
Okay.
I mean, that was the prediction at the beginning of this season, and the season with the same one.
All right. I got a hot take for this one because I think it ties in. We talked about it, and I kind of agree with it now that we're thinking about it. Um, Russ and the Steelers clean sweep. Like not
Ooh.
even like games we're sweating. Just like they just come in and it's
Mhm.
like, oh, how's this game gonna be? And it's just like, bam, just prime Russ
It's
is
already
back.
written.
Yeah, it's already written.
Hmm.
Doubling down on this though to epitomize Russ's legacy. Super Bowl against the Lions. They're on the 3. They're on the 2. Check away from Najee Harris to throw an interception to take your pick
Oh,
of receiver. Oh, George Pickens just completely misses him. George Pickens does a stupid penalty, knocks the ball away. Uh, Legacy of forever. Like should have just run
it's
it.
just giving me stress just thinking about it. Yeah, should have run it.
No,
Oh my gosh.
but I could see it. Like in reality,
Yeah.
whether it's Russ or Justin Fields, both of them have shown that they can win.
I don't think Tomlin is that naive, though. I don't think he's that naive.
No, I think he'd
You
win
know,
it.
he would not let that happen. He would not let that happen.
Yeah. It's we're running it. Was
Yeah,
it the
we're punching it. Yeah,
yeah yeah? I mean, this is quite the playoff bracket.
do all the dirty stuff you need to in that pile. You
Yeah
know, get some liver shots in there, get some rib shots in
yeah,
there, poke some eyes. You're punching that ball in through that end zone regardless.
absolutely.
You know, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps it
Yeah.
up. We're back in it. So we're gonna try and
Mhm.
do this every week. We've got it pretty set up. It looks like everything's running smoothly. So I think we're back.
Hell yeah.
So, so until next time, we'll just be hanging here. You guys
Yep.
have a good one. Later.